Hello and welcome to episode 110 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we build a large expansion to the blasting halls to house a stack of vulcanite. Yup, 64 vulcanite. This will lower my remaining wait time for the space elevator down to 10 hours. To power this, I also start using laser vacuum pipes. And to be honest, this is kind of a filler episode, but at the end we showcase the integrated ore factory and we enter UEV. As you may have seen in the intro, I have crafted up 56 Vulcanus controllers. Now I need to make some Vulcanus casings and some stocking input hatches and buses, and then I'm going to scale up the blasting halls a lot. And then I'm going to set half the vulcanite to blast cosmic neutronium, and the other half to blast regular neutronium. I know I mentioned the fusion recipe for neutronium, and I'll have that running as well, but making more fusion donuts is a little expensive, so I'd rather do this. And while these things are blasting, I kind of don't really have anything to do, so I'm just going to spend some time going around the base and finding things to optimize. One thing I found that is a major problem that I've just been slapping a band-aid on this whole time, I no longer need hog, so I'm not really burning enough of it to keep up with the rate at which I make it. Which means these things get clogged with all kinds of stuff like light fuel, heavy fuel, naphtha, and I've just been storing it. I really don't need to store it. I should start cracking it so I can get different gases and stuff and fluids and use them. But more importantly, this is my sulfuric acid source because I get hydrogen sulfide from desulfurization, which I turn into sulfuric acid. And if everything's clogged, then I'm not making sulfuric acid. And in fact, I am out. I'm completely out of sulfuric acid. I'm making a little bit because I've been dealing with this, but it's not very fast. But I do have a lot of diluted sulfuric acid, and I think there's a few places around the base where I'm just voiding overflow. Instead, I've made a mega distillation tower, and I'm going to make it full size. I did plan for this when I built the mega factory. That's why it's so tall, because it's going to go right there in the corner, and it's going to be super, super tall. Besides that, last episode I made the integrated ore factory. I still haven't placed it, so I will do that as well. But before I do anything else, I'm going to set up this DT, and then I'm going to set up the vulcanite, and then we can get going. So as a reminder, here are my two blast furnace buildings. Well, formerly blast furnace buildings. I guess this one still has some vulcanite, but I'm going to be moving these. Originally, I thought of just ripping this up and then making a big new cube, basically, and have it be a little taller. But I thought of something a little cooler, I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of shave off like the top 1 or 2 layers of this and place a cube on top of that. And maybe I'll like modify these little slope bits so they look like supporting structures. And I think that would look a lot cooler. Because then it's like I have this vision of a big cube, for now, above my head. And then there's kind of a little tunnel here. I think it's cool. So let's see what I can come up with. The pollution is making it a little hard to visualize in the grand scheme of things, but I'll figure it out. The building is done, but you can't really see it because of pollution. However, if I actually turn on cheat mode, it hides the pollution. So I'm just going to do this just to show you the building, but don't worry, I'm not cheating. So I made it kind of asymmetric because I had to. I had to fit in all of these vulcanite, and I've placed placeholders here. There are 16 over here, and they're going to be doubled up on the top. So like one here and one there. That makes it 32 in this row. And I think I can wall share this like top part. So this would be a stack just like this. So there's kind of space for another stack here if I decide I need it. And there's even more space vertically if I want to fit even more stacks of vulcanite. I am just going to start with the 1 stack for now because 4 stacks of vulcanite seem like a little overkill. Though maybe it's not, who knows. Neutronium is super slow and I need a lot. Anyway, here's the building. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty cool. It's not very complicated. It's pretty flat actually. And here it was my vision for the tunnel underneath. I think it came out pretty good. Alright, well, I am going to set up these vulcanite. I'm going to get a wire connection in here, power everything, and then, I don't know, I'll find something to do, I guess. So I'm just planning out how to wall share this, and I think this is the best that I could come up with. So this is kind of an 8-way wall share for this maintenance hatch. It's an auto-taping maintenance hatch, so it's never going to be, it's never going to need maintenance. So if it's completely hidden and inaccessible, that's fine. On the top here, I have a muffler hatch shared between 4 of the Vulcani, and at the bottom, I also have another one, also shared between the 4. On the bottom faces, I guess you could call it, the bottom of the Vulcanus, each one has its own energy hatch because I don't want to share energy hatches. I just don't want to risk, some kind of weird power fail that I didn't expect. Each one gets its own UV energy hatch underneath the controller. Output buses are shared between 2 Vulcani, like this, on both sides. I haven't placed it on this side, but it's going to be the same. In the middle here is a stocking input hatch. This is for my Xenon, because the stocking input hatches are kind of expensive to make, so I want to quad share them where possible. They need to be visible to the outside for connections, that's why I didn't put it in the middle. So these are quad shared on both sides. Stocking input buses go here. These are also quad shared, except for the ends. So the ends are double shared. Everything in the middle is going to be quad shared because there's going to be another bunch of Vulcani over here. So this actually gets shared with the next one over. So this is also quad shared, so that's pretty good. And finally, the pyrotheum heating vents. These are also similar to the stocking input buses. The ends are quad shared and the middle ones are octuple shared. And while it looks like this needs some kind of connection to the outside world, it doesn't, because I have ender fluid link covers. So I need to configure them before I build the rest of the multi so that there's always pyrotheum in here, but this should work. And all the empty slots here are just going to be filled with Vulcanus casings. And I think that works. That was kind of fun, actually, to try and figure out some kind of efficient way to wall share these. I was worried that just spamming more machines would just be boring, and it sort of is, but at least there's some challenge to it. So I have wired up my 32 Vulcani. I decided to only do 32 for now, because the other 32 I think I would like to put on Cosmic Neutronium, and I'd like to keep those 2 lines separate. So this also works out because the 1x superconductor UV wire is a 32 amp wire, so it powers 32 machines, which is perfect. Now the problem is 32 amps of UV is quite a bit. That's equivalent to 128 amps of ZPM, and my Tesla tower is kind of already struggling to keep up with its current demands, even without that. Because the number of amps a Tesla tower can put out depends on the number of capacitors in the hatches. And right now I don't know how many I have, but it's not the maximum amount. The maximum would be 16 times 17, which is 272. And to do that, it would have to be every single outer casing would have to be capacitor hatches. Right now I have a couple of energy hatches, but I would have to replace that with the one energy hatch, like a laser hatch, and then have a laser line going from the supercapacitor into my Tesla tower. If I did that, I could have a grand total of 272 amps of ZPM to transport around the base, and that is not enough. 32 amps of UV is going to consume about half of that, and the remaining amount has to power, everything else in the base, which I don't think I can do that. I kind of have 2 options here. I can either make a second Tesla tower, and that'll bring it up to 544 amps of ZPM total that I can play with, but this isn't going to scale. As I continue progression, this is like I'm going to need more and more Tesla towers because Tesla towers only go up to ZPM. So if I want to wean myself off of Tesla towers, then I have to do something else. And kind of the only thing I can do is a wire in the maintenance tunnel, like the old days. Or I could do a laser connection, like using laser vacuum pipes. But again, that would also go into the maintenance tunnel and then around the base. These are a bit more annoying because they're kind of hard to turn, but yeah. So I don't know. I need to think about it some more, but I'll eventually figure out some kind of solution, and then I'm gonna finish setting this up. Okay, so I've thought it through a little bit more, and I have 2 options again. So one, I could have a second Aquata reactor down here in the basement of the old building, and then I can just send the power upstairs. Or I can make a bunch of laser vacuum pipes, and I'm kind of leaning towards these because they are quite expensive, because I'd have to make laser vacuum mirrors, which I've unlocked now. These allow me to turn the cable. Before, I would have to use an active transformer to turn the cable, but now I can just use these. But these are kind of expensive, mostly because of the chromatic glass. I need about 8 of these, and that means I need about 72 chromatic glass dust. And this is just, I can make this. It's just all a bunch of UHV recipes. I need a quantum anomaly, which I have. And it's a bunch of glass, which is free. But it is slow. But I think it's worth it, and I think this is more kind of future-proof because if I do a large Naquata reactor, maybe someday in the future I would need even more power than that. And then I'd have to rip that up and come up with a new solution again. And I kind of don't like splitting power sources like that. I don't want to have a power source here dedicated to something. I'd rather have my main buffer be the recipient of all power, and then that is what powers everything else. So I'm more inclined to do the laser vacuum pipes. I don't think these have a EU throughput limit, so I could scale this up forever, basically. I just have to swap out the laser target and source hatches. So I did a quick estimate of the length in the maintenance tunnels, and I'm going to need about 5 stacks of laser vacuum pipes, which is fine, actually. It uses osmiridium, so I was a little hesitant, but it's actually not that much. The laser vacuum mirrors are a little more painful. But honestly, these are fine too. I don't need that many, so it should work out. I think I need to clean up a bit of spaghetti over here, to be honest. Because, like, over here in the back here, like, what is this? Come on. What is this? This is kind of starting to feel like a filler episode, to be honest. So, I hope it's still been enjoyable to watch, but I'm not really doing anything new this episode. I'm just kind of tightening my infrastructure, which is a part of the game, so you better learn. Also, I'm just now realizing I could save on quite a bit of power, because I can make this Neutronium energy cell, which is infinite AE2 energy. So my AE2 network would no longer be a power drain. I think that's worth it. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, everything is in place. I've made a new LSC here, or rather I moved the old one. I've connected everything up with laser vacuum pipes and mirrors. That's more than what I produce, but I'm never going to be pulling that much because my machine draw here doesn't add up to that much. I have two 16 amp dynamo hatches for 32 amps of UV. Those lead up here and they go around. And I've kind of put this on a subnet. So what I've done here is I deposit hot neutronium ingots back into the mainnet. I pull xenon from the mainnet, and I pull raw neutronium dust from the mainnet. And I believe as soon as I connect this last cable, everything should start working. There it is. 32 vulcani making neutronium at 1 per minute. So this is 32 per minute, which is almost 2,000 neutronium per hour. So in 10 hours, I'm gonna have enough neutronium. Oh my god. In the meantime, I'm gonna set up another batch of these on this side and upgrade the power situation a bit more, and I'll also get cosmic neutronium going. Oh, but that was satisfying. That was nice. That was really nice. Second batch of 32 vulcani has been completed. This second batch is for cosmic neutronium, which actually smelts a lot faster than the regular neutronium. This stack is going to give me about 1,500 neutronium per hour, approximately. And this one's going to give me about 4,500 cosmic neutronium per hour. It's because for this blast, I get some parallels at UV. Now, to finish the rest of my space elevator parts, I need a lot of diamonds and more ore, more lanthanum also. I need a bunch of stuff. And currently, I'm still processing this giant meteor I summoned like almost 2 days ago in real life, I think. So my ore processing is very much unable to keep up. And integrated ore factories are kind of expensive, so I think I'm just going to place this one, and I'm going to kind of manually use it just to help myself process all of these ores. And then a fully automated setup for the integrated ore factory will come in a future episode. And in that episode, I'll have 5 IOFs so that I can do all 5 processing lines. This thing is pretty big. This thing is really big, actually. I don't really have space in here. Even if I rip up all these machines, which I don't think I'm going to do. Well, I might. We'll see. But even if I do that, these are not going to fit. 5 of these? That's not going to fit. I guess that means I need to do another building expansion. I'll do that some other time because I'm kind of already builded out. So what I'll do for now is I will just place this here, even though it's levitating and kind of stupid looking. But I'm not going to be automating this yet, so it's fine, I think. will explain how this works though. I don't want to leave you completely in the dark. So, first of all, this machine has voiding mode, void excess items and fluids on. So definitely make sure to have a storage component in here so that you can have a nice big item cache. Now on the top are 4 input hatches. There don't have to be 4, but I just put 4 in here so I can use this one multi for multiple purposes. But basically this is where the input fluids go, like mercury or water or sodium persulfate. Input items go into the input bus, and I believe you can supply partially processed ore. So crushed ore, for example, I think is a valid input for this. It doesn't have to be just straight ore blocks. And currently I'm running this at ZPM because why not? So according to the tooltip, every ore costs 30 EU per tick, 2 liters of lubricant, and 200 liters of distilled water. And it does 1024 ores at a time. So at a minimum, if you want to use all the parallels, you want to use an LUV energy hatch, at least. This is going to use a lot of distilled water, so I need to figure that out before I make the rest of the IOFs. And like it says, processing time is dependent on mode, and you can use a screwdriver to switch modes, and you can sneak click with the screwdriver to void the stone dust. I think I will void the stone dust. I do need it for drilling fluid, I think, so I'll figure something out for that. But for now, this machine, I'm gonna have it voiding stone dust. And the running mode, I've set it to macerate, ore washer, sifter. Because the meteor that I have right now that needs to be processed is basically the gem meteor. Pretty much every ore in there needs to be macerated, then ore washed, then sifted. After that, I will continue the grind for the space elevator. So this is how I'm going to automate it to augment my current setup. I have an IV type filter here, which is a block I very rarely use, but I got pretty familiar with it in the Steam Age April Fool's series, so this is actually really nice. So I can set this to crushed ores. Ender chest goes here, and I can import conveyor module, and only crushed ores go in, and they get pushed into the input of the integrated ore factory, and boom, 10 seconds for 1024 crushed ores to process. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get through the rest of this big ball of gems, but as soon as it's done, I can continue with other stuff. Now, as you probably have surmised, Space Elevator is not happening today. But what I am going to try to do to finish off this episode is enter UEV. And I will do that by finishing off these infinity blocks. Currently, I'm making half a stack. I need to make a full stack. That will finish the Infinity Infrastructure quest, which is over here. Finishing that will unlock tier 10 UEV, and making the hull is pretty easy. Need some draconium cable and some bedrockium machine casings. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will definitely for sure guaranteed build the space elevator. I hope this episode was still entertaining despite not really doing anything besides improving general infrastructure. If you think it was not entertaining, let me know in the comments where everyone, especially HR, can see your name and employee number. See you next time.